Have you ever seen a money tree bloom? Most people live their entire lives next to one and never become witnesses to its flowering. This is not just little flowers. This is a message. This is a sign. This is a turning point. But what is the mystery? Most people don't even know that a money tree can bloom at all. And when it suddenly happens, a question arises. Why now? What does it mean? If you've ever seen a blooming money tree, you understand this is not just an event in the plant's life, this is an event in your life. Today we will unravel all the secrets of this phenomenon and find the truth that hides behind this mysterious flowering. Why is this phenomenon so rare? Because flowering requires a convergence of many factors. The plant must reach maturity. This can take several years. Then it needs very specific conditions: the right temperature, lighting, humidity, and watering schedule. Even the slightest deviation can completely stop the process. People keep a money tree at home, care for it, but it never blooms because they don't know what the plant actually needs. Researchers note that in nature, money trees bloom annually, but in home conditions this can happen only once every few years or not at all. This difference between natural and home environments, that's the root of the entire mystery. The money tree, or Crassula ovata, came to us from the arid regions of South Africa. There, where the sun beats mercilessly and it almost never rains, this plant evolved over centuries. Its thick, fleshy leaves, this is not just a beautiful feature, it's an adaptation for survival. When European colonizers brought it to Europe, the plant spread throughout the world and came to Asia, especially to China. In the South African savanna, the money tree grows slowly and very economically. It can survive droughts lasting months, literally living off the reserves in its leaves. It was this resilience to extreme conditions that made it so popular in home floriculture. People everywhere saw the potential of this plant. It's unpretentious, beautiful, and long-lived. Plants that live in the wild for more than 20 years become veritable living monuments to time. The journey of the money tree around the world is a story about how people bring nature into their homes. In the 17th century, it appeared in European botanical gardens, where it was cultivated as a rarity and curiosity. Gradually, it became popular in the homes of aristocrats, then spread among the common population. Every culture into which this plant came gave it its own meaning, its own story, its own significance. In Chinese culture, the money tree acquired incredible value. Leaves that resembled coins became a symbol of wealth. According to tradition, the plant is capable of attracting money and good fortune into the home. There is a belief that if a money tree blooms, it means financial prosperity. For centuries, people have told stories of how their plant suddenly bloomed, and then something amazing happened: an inheritance, a new job, business prosperity. These stories were passed down from generation to generation, becoming part of the cultural heritage. In China, the money tree even received the name Plant of Happiness and is considered one of the most auspicious plants for a home. In Japan, the money tree also acquired special significance. The Japanese believed that this plant attracts abundance and prosperity, especially if it was received as a gift. The giver gives not just a plant, but gives hope for a better future. In Russia, the money tree became popular in Soviet times when people tried to create coziness in their apartments. It was affordable, beautiful, and didn't require complicated care. An ideal plant for urban dwellings. In some cultures, it is believed that flowering is a sign that you are in harmony with the energy of your home, that you are taking proper care of your dwelling. This philosophical meaning suggests that you are ready for change and open to new opportunities. Even in modern apartments, people believe that a blooming money tree brings good fortune not by accident. This is the result of your positive energy and the right attitude toward life. In feng shui, the money tree is recommended to be placed in the southeastern part of the house, which is responsible for wealth and prosperity. But it's important to say these beliefs are beautiful, inspiring, but they are not scientific facts. When we want to understand why a money tree really blooms, we need science. The money tree is a succulent that developed in conditions where resources are limited. When it reaches a certain size and has accumulated enough resources, it is ready for flowering. But this depends on the surrounding conditions. In nature, this usually happens in late winter or early spring. On the African continent, this coincides with the beginning of the rainy season. The plant seems to know that there will be more water and energy ahead for growing offspring. The plant is indeed capable of sensing the approach of a more favorable period thanks to a complex system of environmental sensors. The key factor is photoperiodism, the plant's reaction to the length of the day. When the days become longer, the plant receives a signal that it's time to reproduce. This is an ancient mechanism that developed over millions of years. Plants have learned to read nature's calendar through light. The money tree contains pigments that respond to changes in day length, triggering a cascade of hormonal changes within the plant. These pigments are called phytochromes, and they work like the plant's biological clock. Temperature also matters. After a cold winter, a rise in temperature signals to the plant that favorable times are approaching. This temperature contrast is critically important. The plant seems to check the world around it. If spring has arrived, then there won't be any more severe frosts, which means it can invest energy in reproduction. This is why a winter with reduced temperatures is so critical for forming flower buds. The third factor is nutrients and water. Periods of drought, followed by slight moisture, create stress, and this stress is a trigger for flowering. The plant seems to tell itself, I need to reproduce now. This is an evolutionary survival strategy. In nature, when the rainy season comes, the money tree intensively begins to grow and bloom, because this is its chance to leave offspring. This mechanism has worked perfectly over millions of years of evolution. In home conditions, we make a mistake. We give too much water and fertilizer, providing stable conditions. The plant doesn't feel the need to bloom because it lives in a paradise of relative abundance. It simply grows, becomes larger, accumulates leaves. For it, there is no signal of danger, no signal of the need to reproduce. Comfort, paradoxically, can interfere with flowering. The plant's hormonal system is also important. Abscisic acid is produced in response to stress and drought. When its level increases, it can trigger the plant's transition from growth to reproduction. Gibberellins promote growth, but the interaction between them creates a chemical dance that determines whether a plant will grow or bloom. This hormone balance is the final key to understanding why some plants bloom and others don't. There is also a hormone called phloragen, sometimes called the flowering hormone. It is precisely this that is responsible for the transition to the reproductive phase. Here's what's interesting. The two worldviews don't contradict each other. Tradition says, the money tree blooms when you are in harmony with your home. Take proper care, when your intentions are pure. Science says, the plant blooms when you have created the right conditions. Isn't that the same thing? Care and attention are expressed in creating ideal conditions. A person who properly cares for a plant is in harmony with nature. He notices the needs of the plant, learns, and adapts. Folk beliefs explain through spirituality, science explains through biology, but both approaches come to a similar conclusion. If you want blooming, pay attention, learn, be in harmony with the nature of the plant. In fact, there is no conflict between these two approaches. They are simply speaking about the same thing in different languages. The language of symbolism and the language of molecular biology describe the same reality. Now for practice. First, make sure the plant is mature enough, at least 3 years, but 4 or 5 is better. A young plant simply doesn't have enough resources for flowering. It's like a young person who is just starting to earn money and can't yet afford to start a family. Patience is necessary here. Next, light. The money tree loves light. Place it in the brightest spot. Ideally, a window facing south or west. You need at least 4 hours of direct sun. Better 5 to 8 hours. If there's not enough sun in your home, use grow lights. Grow lights of a special spectrum help the plant get the light it needs for blooming. Temperature. Clear seasonality is mandatory. Summer around 25 to 28 degrees Celsius. Winter 12 to 15 degrees. Move the plant away from radiators and heating. This temperature drop is perceived as a natural signal of spring's approach. If your home doesn't have a cold place, you can even place the plant on an unheated windowsill in winter, if it's not too cold. Even a few degrees of difference can influence the plant's ability to bloom. Watering is an art. The money tree suffers not from drought, but from excess water. In summer, water when the top layer of soil is completely dry. In winter, even less. Overwatering in winter destroys the plant. The soil should be moist, but not waterlogged. Check the moisture with your finger. If your finger remains dry when touching the soil, then you can water. Many people make the mistake of watering the plant on a schedule without checking the soil condition. The money tree requires a more flexible approach. Fertilizing once a month in summer. Use a fertilizer with a higher content of phosphorus and potassium than nitrogen. Phosphorus and potassium promote blooming. Nitrogen promotes leaf growth. No fertilizer is needed in winter. Some experienced gardeners even recommend using special fertilizers for succulents and cacti, which contain the optimal balance of microelements. There are even special fertilizers for stimulating blooming, containing microelements that are especially important for the formation of flower buds. Drainage, critically important. The plant should grow in a pot with a hole in the bottom. Use soil that drains well, a mixture of regular soil with perlite or sand. You can also add a little orchid bark for better air permeability. The pot shouldn't be too large. The money tree prefers a tighter space. The size of the pot matters. If the pot is too large, the plant will spend a lot of energy filling the space with roots and soil with moisture, which can also interfere with blooming. Results may not appear quickly. Even if you do everything right, there is only a probability of blooming, not a guarantee. But if you follow this with patience and dedication, the chances increase significantly. Sometimes blooming can happen as early as the next season, and sometimes it takes several years of systematic care. Don't despair if the first year doesn't bring results. You are creating conditions, the plant is accumulating energy, and one day everything will come together. When a money tree begins to bloom, it happens in a very interesting way. First, small green or reddish buds appear on the tips of the stems. Then they develop into delicate flowers, white or pink, star-shaped. These are small bouquets, as if the plant wants to share its beauty. The aroma is pleasant, delicate, honey-like. The blooming period lasts several weeks, sometimes even a month, if conditions remain favorable. Each flower lasts a short time, but when many buds develop simultaneously, the blooming can be very abundant. Seeing this is incredibly beautiful little star flowers, like lights of hope, lighting up on your plant. After flowering, the plant forms seeds. These small seeds can be collected and used to grow new plants. Money tree seeds germinate within 2 to 3 weeks under the right conditions. Young plants grown from seed grow slowly, but they are full of energy and potential. If you ever grow a money tree from seed and observe its growth from the very beginning, you will understand the depth of the process happening in nature. There are different varieties of money tree, some of which are more prone to blooming in home conditions than others. For example, the variety Crassula ovata var. Cumulus is known to bloom more often in home conditions than the standard variety. Some people specifically look for these more blooming varieties if their goal is to achieve blooming. Why does this matter so much to us? Because the blooming of a money tree is a symbol that we can create conditions in which nature reveals its potential. A symbol that attention, care, and dedication have results. It's a reminder that we are connected to nature, that we are part of the living world, that our actions matter. When you see a blooming money tree, you see proof that patience and the right actions really work. Financial well-being doesn't fall from the sky. It comes as a result of work, attention to detail, the ability to create the right conditions for growth. The money tree teaches patience, wait for years of maturation. Teaches attentiveness, notice every sign. Teaches adaptability, constantly adjust and learn. Isn't this applicable to any success, including financial success? People who achieve financial success usually do exactly this. They learn, adapt to new conditions, pay careful attention to details, and they are willing to wait for the results of their investments. The history of wealthy people shows that few become rich overnight. Usually it's the result of many years of effort, right decisions, and patience. Maybe the belief works not as magic, but as motivation. When you believe in your plant's luck, you spend time caring for it, study its needs, become more attentive, more disciplined, more focused. These qualities naturally lead to success, not through magic but through cause and effect. History knows many examples of how belief in a particular plant or symbol really helped people achieve success, but not because the plant was magical, but because the belief motivated them to act differently. This is a psychological mechanism that works very effectively. The money tree is not just a plant, it's a teacher. It teaches that magic is real, but it's the result of understanding, effort, attention, and time. When you look at the plant with fresh eyes, remember, inside is bustling chemical activity, hormones circulating, cells dividing and growing. The plant is alive, and if you create the right conditions, if you are patient and attentive, one day you can witness a miracle. This miracle will not be any less miraculous because you understand the mechanisms that create it. When the flowers appear, you will understand, any miracle begins not with magic, but with knowledge. It begins with studying the world. It begins with taking responsibility for our actions. This applies not only to plants, but to our entire life. When we understand how the world works, when we take responsibility for our actions, when we are patient and attentive, miracles begin to happen naturally. If you like this story, write in the comments. Share your story. Maybe you have a money tree and wanted to know why it doesn't bloom. Maybe you've seen a blooming tree. Maybe you've noticed financial changes that coincided with blooming. Maybe you started caring for your plant differently and saw results. Whatever your story is, I would like to hear it. If you like the content, give it a like. This helps the algorithm, helps us create more, helps reach people who want to better understand nature. Subscribe to the channel. There are still many interesting stories ahead about other plants, about amazing natural phenomena, about the lessons nature teaches if we listen carefully. Each plant has its own story, its own secrets, its own lessons. The money tree teaches one final lesson. Beauty and success don't come easily, but when they do, it's the sweetest victory. Because this is not just a victory of nature, it's your victory. The fruit of your labor, your patience, your belief that magic is real, even if it works through perfectly ordinary biological mechanisms. Thank you for taking this journey with me. Thank you for letting me share this story with you. Remember, your money tree is waiting. It's waiting for attention, care, belief. And one day, if you are persistent and patient, it will reward you with the most beautiful gift. It will bloom.